So what on earth could a pair of old, worn-in shoes have in common with a country's most important legal document? I know, it sounds a little out there. But trust me, by the end of this, you'll totally see the connection. Because a constitution, it turns out, is so much more than just a piece of paper. You could even say it's the very soul of a country. So let's dive in and figure out what really makes one tick.
Okay, let's get right down to it. What is a constitution? Really? I mean, we're always told it's basically the ultimate rulebook for a country, right? And, that's not wrong, but it kind of misses the bigger and frankly much more interesting picture.
Yeah, a much better way to think about it is like this. It's a society's operating system. It's the base code, the fundamental programming that tells everything else, the government, the laws, even us, the people, how to interact and function together. It's what makes the whole machine run.
All right, so first up, let's look at the Constitution as a blueprint. The fundamental design for how a state is actually built and supposed to be run.
So when you really boil it down, a constitution does a few absolutely critical things. First, it structures the government, usually into the classic three branches. It also establishes itself as the supreme law of the land, meaning every other law has to play by its rules. And maybe the most important job of all, it regulates that super delicate balance of power between the government and us, the individual. It's there to protect our fundamental rights and make sure that even minority groups have a voice and are protected. It really is the foundational framework for, well, everything.
But here's the thing. A blueprint is just a plan on paper, right? For it to actually become a real building, you need something more. You need this unwritten commitment from everyone to follow it. And this is where we get into what's called the spirit of the law.
And yeah, that spirit actually has a name. It's called constitutionalism. And what it really is this core belief that a government's power has to be limited. It has to be defined and constrained by the law. See, it's not just about having a rule book, it's about the shared attitude, the commitment from everyone. We're talking politicians, judges, the public, to actually play by the rules in that book.
I mean, think about it this way. A constitution is literally just paper without constitutionalism. It's that invisible spirit we're talking about, that shared understanding and deep commitment that breathes life into the words on the page and makes them actually mean something in the real world.
So why does any of this matter? What's the point? Well, it's because this entire system, all these rules, these limits, these shared values, it all has one ultimate beneficiary, the people, us. The whole thing is designed from the ground up to serve and protect the citizens.
And that brings us to the really tricky part. The core tensions that every single constitution has to somehow manage. It's this incredible, delicate balancing act between three huge concepts: power, justice, and culture.
This really gets to the central paradox, the big puzzle at the heart of any constitution. Okay, so on one hand, you have to empower the government, right? You need to make it strong enough to actually govern effectively, to make decisions and act for the public good. But then, on the other hand, you have to restrain that exact same power to stop it from being abused and from trampling all over individual rights. It's a fundamental tightrope walk, and it is not easy.
So you might be asking, how is that tightrope walk even possible? How do you actually tame power? Well, constitutions have a few key strategies. First, you diffuse power. You spread it out across a bunch of different institutions so no one person or group can get their hands on all of it. Second, you channel conflict. You create safe legal arenas like courts and political debates to manage disputes so they don't spill out into chaos. And finally, and this is crucial, the system recognizes that the ultimate power rests with the people. If the whole system starts to fail, the people are the final backstop.
But it's not just about taming power. A constitution does more. It also provides the standard for justice. It's the yardstick we can all use to judge the government's actions and ask, is this power being used fairly? And it plays a huge role in defining a nation's culture. It helps a community answer that massive question, who are we?
Which leads us to a really important point. If a constitution is supposed to reflect a nation's unique culture and history, well then, it just can't be a one-size-fits-all kind of document, can it? They have to be custom-made.
And this is where we get back to those shoes. There's this fantastic metaphor from Singapore's former leader, Lee Kuan Yew. He said constitutions are like shoes. They have to be custom-made, tailored to fit the peculiarities of the people. And get this, he said an old, worn-in pair that fits perfectly is way better than a brand-new pair that doesn't. It just has to fit the local circumstances.
And this isn't just some political idea either. It's a core legal concept. Singapore's former Chief Justice Chan Sek-keong basically made the exact same point. He said you have to apply the law subject to local circumstances. I mean, what works perfectly for one country could be an absolute disaster in another.
So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. There is no single optimal model for a constitution. There just isn't. To really, truly understand one, you have to appreciate the unique history, the culture, and the specific context of the nation it was built for. Context is everything. Okay, and that brings us to our final section. And honestly, this might be the most important point of all. Even the best designed, most perfectly tailored constitution in the world has its limits.
Let's go back to that operating system idea for a second. The Constitution, that written document with all its rules and structures, that's the hardware of the state. It's the physical machine, the computer itself. But as we all know, hardware is pretty useless without software, right? So the big question is, who is responsible for the software? Because the software of a nation, well, it isn't written down in any legal code. It's all the unwritten stuff, the integrity of its leaders, the wisdom of its judges, and, maybe most important of all, the active engagement of its people. You can't pass a law for character, you can't legislate wisdom. Those things have to be lived out day in and day out by real people. And in the end, that is the software that truly makes any constitution, any hardware, actually work.